Hello, good evening, and welcome to Red Devils Roundup on the Balls Out podcast. And we have a match review of Fulham 1, Manchester United 1. Joined by Mark. We're going to just go straight into it because we were ranting backstage, and we just thought, you know what, there's no point ranting backstage when nobody can hear us. We might as well rant live. So why don't you carry on with what you were saying? Good evening, mate. Hope you're good, but let's just go straight into it.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. Where was I?
We were talking about
Basically that one.
the first 2 minutes.
The first 2 minutes hit the post. We're going at them. Everything looked what we expected. We get to 10 minutes and we've been found out, and they settled into the game. But I was on the edge of my seat for 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. This is what we wanted.
Yeah.
And
10 minutes in, that was it.
10 minutes in, you're thinking, okay, they're growing back into the game. Get to half time, and literally my gut started going, fuck me, United are back from last season. We score a goal, but we didn't score a goal. It's another own goal. The header was going wide, it's gone in.
So last night, I uploaded the last 20 minutes of our show from last week where we did our balls out predictions. And we all said 3 top goal scorers. I think you said Šeško or Mbeumo.
I thought it'd be shared between, yeah.
But so all 3 of us said one of the front 3, Šeško, Cunha and Mbeumo. Currently, after 2 games, our top goal scorer is own goal.
Yeah. And shots on target is a fucking disgrace as well. You ain't going to score if you can't hit the target.
Let's get some stats up from today's match.
Yeah, I've got most of them in front of me. But I think it was 3 shots on target for the game. We didn't even control possession this week. How can we have more possession against Arsenal than we can get against Fulham? Who was it? Iwobi's come out and absolutely taken the piss out of Man United and said we knew we could get behind their midfield too. So we did. And Iwobi ran the game behind it. And it was so true. It's picked up in commentary. He was just finding pockets of space behind the midfield.
Yeah.
Where Casemiro was just left exposed again.
So in the stats department, like you say, 10 shots, 3 on target. So they're 13 shots, 4 on target. Possession-wise, they had 51.5% possession.
Yeah.
Let's go back to
9 corners.
Yeah, 9 corners. They pretty much dominated every stat. Going into 9 corners. Goalkeeper made 3 saves. We committed 10 fouls. They had more shots, more on target. We had 6 shots off target. We hit the woodwork once. 1-on-1 attempts. They won by 1.
Yeah, that was a terrible miss by him. I've got to be honest. And he knew it as well. He knew he fucked up as soon as he touched the ball. It's just one of them. In midair, you can't really control it.
So, yeah, those first 2 or 3 minutes where we had Cunha blast it over the bar in the first minute, but a good, decent shot, like unlucky.
Yeah, spun and hit it first time.
And then immediately after that, the second attack we had was Cunha hit the post. And we're, like you say, we're sitting there thinking, fucking hell, just keep this up for another 10
minutes in. Yeah, long ball over the top. Cunha's 1-on-1 with the keeper. What a first touch.
Yeah.
What a first touch to bring that down.
Bayern Deer with the ball and then Cunha with the touch. Like it was pitch perfect.
Yeah, he tried to hit it. He probably should have dinked it. It's one of those you're in 2 minds because it's all in one motion. It's either do I just sort of flick it with my foot and just tap it over the top of the keeper? I might put it over the bar. I might not get enough on it. He tried to hit it and he hit it to the right, and you're like, the whole goal's open on the left. That's just, you don't find yourself in that position very often, and especially not as a striker, the 10. So, but yeah, that was it, wasn't it? If we say 3 shots on target, well, the post won't count. So 2 of them came in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
2 shots on target in the first 10 minutes. We only managed 1 more shot on target, which means for the second game in a row, even when we get a strike on the pitch, he didn't get a shot.
Because that was when the team lineups came out, I immediately put in our group chat saying I can't believe he's not put Sheshko on. And we all, there was a few of us that said it was a poor decision. A few of us said it's obviously fitness related. It clearly was fitness related. Um, but then when he came on the pitch, he wasn't able to make any kind of impact because we were behind in that. We weren't behind in that sense. Like we wasn't 1-1 at that point. I don't think we wasn't one. Not sure. Whenever he came on,
No, he came on before they scored because um, Mason Mount and that was still on the pitch, and we'll come on to them scoring. But yeah, he was on the pitch, and it didn't cross the ball for him to try and head. We didn't play it into his feet. He kept spinning in, looking for a ball in behind. It never came. Um, yeah,
I think unfortunately for Ruben, I think that is a poor error. That's an error on his judgment because he's put him on completely the wrong time of the game, without a shadow of a doubt. Thank you very much, Niche Fam. Thank you very much for the like. Um, yeah, I just think it's disappointing that he's put him. He should have been on from the start. And whether you always start your strikers, and then if they're feeling knackered by half time, you take them off half time.
well, put it this way: you don't put a player that might have a knock or something like that. You don't bring him off the bench to have to risk to take him off again. You start him and you go, right, let's see how far he can go. They've got monitors on their back. They're getting like feedback right there on the side of the pitch. As soon as he goes in the red, you can sub him off. You can even tell someone to go down so you can get him off if it was that extreme.
Yeah,
Like that is where all the trackers and that are on their back. That's the live feedback they get because we use them and I know exactly how they work. But again, I said it last week. We have 4 fucking strikers and we're not playing any. That's not acceptable.
I mean we were ready to eat humble pie as soon as those first 5 minutes were over, where we all thought, right, we're getting opportunities with Cunha and Bremo. If they had scored, and we would have been like, all right, fair
Well, no,
enough.
we're expecting them to score from their 10s, aren't we? But what did I say? Oh, you obviously weren't on the show Friday. I said I expected Mount, although he was done such a good job, and I think he'd done a good job today leading the press. I expected him to come out for Sesko, and I expected Dallo, who is fucking shit, to come
Yeah.
out the team for Ahmad. I got one right,
Ahmad,
and we were both.
the Ahmad coming in the right wing back. We've talked about that. Not, I heard you could talk about it on Friday, but I think before that we'd spoken about
Yeah,
it, about him being moved to a right wing back. And it's very similar to the Antonio Valencia when he was playing for us. Started as a right winger, right midfielder, and then we ended up moving him back, and he became
superb
arguably
right back. Yeah.
superb as a right back. And you'd bite your hand off at a right wing back as Antonio Valencia right now.
Oh my God, can you imagine him in today's game? He would
It
be
would
the
be
perfect right wing back.
unbelievable. But
But yeah, Dallo came on the ball. Every time he got the ball, he didn't put the cross in quick enough. He even turned onto his left foot and couldn't barely got it off the floor. Oh, evening, Jonathan.
evening, mate.
Um, but that right wing back is a known potential problem. But Ahmad was expected. I do not expect at any point Mbermo to go there.
No.
So yeah, so going back, so yeah, Mason Mount, I expected to have a striker, but I can see what Mount brings to us as a false 9, but he's not even that. That's not even his position. He's a box to box ball playing, like another one who's not quite a 10, but not quite an 8.
Right, let's get some feedback from Niche Fan. I ain't seen your comments. I'll bring them up very shortly, so please keep them coming in. I just want to get Jonathan's views on the sort of overall player of the game. What did you make of the performance and the result before we get into the goals and that sort of thing? Just give me your overall feelings on it, mate.
Yeah, it was more like last season than last week, wasn't it? That whole starting quick, starting well, look promising, fans getting excited, creating chances, butchering chances, and then ultimately getting sucker punched. And that's what my concern was last week after the Arsenal game. We could see a difference in last week's game. We've been up for big games before. We've said that. Me and Mark said that in the preview on Friday. They've no problem getting up for the big games. I'm not saying they weren't up for today, but it's just the same issues creeping in. And look, I'm not hammering him out by any stretch of the imagination. He's not even in the job a year, but it's inevitable that the pressure is going to come on to him. I mean, his win rate is absolutely abysmal. I understand he's trying to initiate and instill a long term game plan style of play. He's resetting the culture at the club, and that side of things looks like it's positive. But ultimately, you've got to get the results on the pitch, and he has less points as a manager in the Premier League than he has managed games at this point. That is absolutely shocking stuff for a Manchester United manager. And I understand he's got to stick to his principles because he can't make the same mistakes as Ten Hag and Van Gaal and Ollie, in the sense that you abandon your footballing principles to suit the players that are there. But at the same time, he's got to find a way of getting results. And there's a lot of questionable decisions there at the minute. I mean, you can't have a certain standard for some players, such as Garnacho, Rashford, etc. Now, that's a different incident. I know there's discipline issues there, whatever, off the field. But in terms of performance on the field, you can't have standards for some players and not others, because Bruno was diabolical today. He was. And he should have been replaced, but he wasn't, because he's the captain and because he can come up with that moment of magic. But you can't justify keeping a player on the pitch like that when you've got a player like Kobe Mainoo on the bench, who is such a raw talent. We've seen him score important late goals for Manchester United. So yeah, it's concerning. We're kind of repeating that the trends of seasons past, where the season is over 2, 3, 4 games into the season, and you're just kind of hanging on to optimism then again. And you don't want to be down after 2 games, because it is only 2 games. But when you look at the bigger picture, it's not just 2 games, because he's been there since last November. So inevitably, Man United fans and the wider footballing community are going to expect more from Amorim's team, and rightly so.
I think a good point to bring in this quote then that I just said to you off stream.
Go for it.
Guy. Ruben Amorim on if the ref disrupted Fernandes for the penalty. No, I think he's not used. So let's start again. No, I think he's not used to missing a penalty. He knows that every moment in this context can have a huge impact on the team. I felt that during the game he was not so happy, not so involved, because he had so much responsibility, and he felt the missed penalty was huge for us. Now, if your manager is saying that about your captain, that's not good. First and foremost, you pick a captain on who can deal with the most responsibility when the chips are down, because that's what he's got to do. He's got to pick the rest of the team up and lead by example. He is the penalty taker, and he has missed penalties before. But to turn around and say, I felt that he wasn't happy and I felt he wasn't involved, and you leave him on the pitch for 90 minutes. I don't want to turn into Mark Goldbridge. I do not want to turn into certain other people that go hating. But I am responding purely to that quote from a manager that is now, in my eyes, chat can say what they want. John, for Nathan, you can come back on this. But I'm sorry, you've now just said he's your favourite. I'm not taking him off. Even though I know he's having a shit game, I'm keeping him on. And that put us down to 9 men almost. Because Dallo was another player who came on, but I felt we lost the player when he came on the pitch.
Yeah. No, so, I completely get where you're coming from, and I really do. And I do think, because Bruno, we can do an entire show purely on the upsides and downsides of Bruno Fernandes, or Fernandes, whoever. We should say Fernandes because that's how he wants it.
Yeah. But I'm on that quote. This is not about how Bruno played, he did have a terrible game, but to say that and not change that, leaving Mainoo on the bench, bringing Ugarte on for 5 minutes, took Mount off, took Casemiro off, but didn't take him off.
Yeah, I think it's not uncommon in the modern game for not so much managers to have favourites, but to have players that we know that Bruno can come up with moments I appreciate not always goal scoring moments.
Yep.
I understand that. Stats tell us that he's not a goal scoring machine like he was when he came to United. But he brings moments to the match where you think he can create something, even the start of a move or the end of a move. He can create something for a player. We haven't seen that for probably about 3 or 4 months, maybe even longer. Maybe last year was a real dip in sort of creative moments, but we
I would
know
say
he's
close to 2 years. I would say he's fallen off over the last 2 years. Last season
potentially.
and now to here. If you've dragged that out from pre-season last year to now, it's almost 2 years of play.
But
Isn't
there's
it?
an element of that also. If we didn't have Bruno in this side at all last year, we wouldn't have made a Europa League final, and we probably would have been relegated. Because
I
you
don't
say
believe that fact.
I do,
don't
I
believe
do,
that fact
I
because he
genuinely.
scored 5 penalties out of his 8 goals. So someone else could have scored those 5. That's a goal scoring thing. I do get what you're saying because he plays so many weldy passes that have got us goals as well. So there is, like you just said,
Yeah,
swings around a bit.
goals and assists, like they're very deceiving. But he might create the move that creates an assist, then creates a goal. I'm not
Yes,
saying he. We spoke about this before the season started. That buying in Buemo and Cunha, the idea of them was to take pressure off of Bruno, so he hasn't got to play 100 miles an hour for the whole entirety of the season. And he's been given a new role, so to speak. But it also, I think we're just becoming too easy to play against. Teams.
very
You know, you,
predictable.
we're very predictable. You said there was a quote from, was it?
Iwobi. He
Yeah,
knew
he
that
knew
our
immediately.
midfield two, or they had worked on our midfield two, will push up. There'll be space in behind, and if you watch where their tens were, Iwobi pulled off of what was the say Casemiro and where
Yeah,
the wing back was, and found that space, big fucking 40-yard space either side is where they found their tens, and their goal came from that as well. That is exactly how they scored because they knew Bruno Fernandes would not track his player into the box. We saw it last week in the Arsenal game, and it happened this week.
we should also mention that it also clearly states that Arsenal were really poor last week
Yes,
because
we said,
Fulham,
were they unfit? Were we made to look better than what we were?
yeah, potentially that is the case. But Fulham were able to play a much better game against us today than Arsenal managed last week.
I just want to say one last thing on Bruno, and I don't want to talk. I won't talk about him for the rest of the night because people think I hate him. I know he's world class. I just don't think he's working.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in the chat, so I'm going to say it. From the second I saw his face from the penalty and the petulance on the pitch today, Saudi's in his head. I'm putting it out there. That doesn't come back up today, and him have a game like that. I'm sorry, it's too much of a coincidence. You can say I'm putting 1 and 1 together and making, 1,000, but for me, from a footballing background, that's in his head. He's shaken. He doesn't know whether he's wanted or not, and that's the last thing I'm going to say on Bruno from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I there is an element we have to stress. We're very conscious of spreading fake news, so to speak. But it is reported that El Etifak are preparing to make contact and preparing a bid. No bid has been put in. No conversation, as far as we're aware, that's been reported, has been made to the club or the player. But it is reported very heavily that El Etifak are preparing to make contact and prepare a bid for Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, I think it was the Mirror and the Sun last night broke the news, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how you pronounce their team. It's the same team Kevin Benzema plays for, and it's rumored to be around 90 to 100. But there will only be one bid ever placed.
Yeah.
It will be talks, and we pay you the money because that's how Saudi works. They don't go into bidding wars. It's this or nothing.
I think there's a bit of sarcasm there, Stu. I like it, but
yeah.
We're not going to make this show the Fulham preview and the Bruno bashing, but we have said our piece on Bruno. Clearly, there is something going on, and I do appreciate Nish fan that Baleba is a must buy. Yeah, I think we all can completely agree that I think Baleba is 100%, a player that we need to buy, but it seems very clear on Brighton's front that he is not for sale this summer.
No.
So if there's a way we can do like a pre-contract agreement for next season, say, look, we want to buy him next summer. We want first dibs, sort of thing. That would be a sort of deal we could do. But I think if we didn't get him this summer, we would struggle to get him next summer because I think there will be a lot of interest in Baleba as soon as they hear that he's for sale next season. That's even if Brighton want to sell him next year. But I do completely agree. I think we've got Jarvis in the chat. Evening, mate. Big up, guys. Once again, Bruno Fernandes failed to deliver, completely dominated by Lukic and Sander Berg. Both brilliant players, by the way. His performance was abysmal and further proves he's unsuitable to play in midfield. Yeah. I'm praising the ego. No Bruno bashing here. Yeah. No room for egos. Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. Let's buy him and loan him to Brighton for a year. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, but
You got to pay the money now, though.
that means we've got to pay the 100 million up front now, and I don't think we're in a position PSR was. I know we've discussed before that we would probably break PSR, take the 5-point deduction just to get the players we need, but
and can we just point out, I did call this in before pre-season started about the Bruno deal. I said Saudi would come back for him after that 1 week window, and I said it would be at the end of the thing where it's so close, you've got to do it now or don't. These are oil sellers at the end of the day. These guys are proper businessmen and they know how to close deals. And this is a prime time to take advantage. And if I was any club out there, I would be doing the same deal. They did it with Salah last year. Was it last year or was it season before? They came in very close to the end of the window and gave Liverpool no option, to sell because they wouldn't be able to replace.
Yeah. No, we've talked about that in the past. We'd take the 5-point deduction. I think it might be a bit obvious if we start just buying everyone we wanted now. It might end up being 10 points because they might say, "Well, you've blatantly broken it." But yeah, if we're going,
if this money comes in 100 million, you can do the deal in 24 hours. You can do that deal. You've got 100 million. How much of it do you want to give them up front?
Yeah,
and pay the rest. It's a done deal. If you want to pay 150 million for this player because you think he's going to transform Manchester United, he's not. But he will be a great chess piece in there.
Yeah, I think it all depends on if the reports we'll see how the reports go this week on the Bruno side of things. If it becomes, I find it very difficult to see now that Bruno is sold. I personally don't want him sold. I still think he is an asset on the pitch. I appreciate that there is a lot of. I still think there's manoeuvrability to get him playing how we want him to play in that number 10 role. I look with having Bruno in that 10, Šeško up front, and then having 2 wingers with Mbeumo and Cunha. And I think it would take tweaking his system, and I just don't think Ruben wants to tweak his system because he's been very on it since the very start. Jonathan,
I think there's a place for Bruno in the system, but it's about picking horses for courses. It's about picking the right moment to play him against the right opposition. He's not going to suit this system playing against all 37 or all 38 games in the Premier League. It's not going to happen. It's about looking at it now, and I know he wants to play every game. He's the captain, but there's instances in the past at Man United when our captain wasn't starting every single game. I think at one point Gary Neville was club captain and he became more of a squad player and he was a leader in the dressing room. There's nothing wrong with that. Mark touched on it there with Amarim's comments after the game. I mean, you can't be that obvious about favoritism towards players when you're trying to instill a new culture at the club. It's okay to find moments to use Bruno. If anything, Bruno has been extortionately overplayed the past 5 years. So using him at the right moments, bringing him off the bench for the last 15 minutes when he's hungry and other teams are tiring, and you can bring him into that favoured 10 position. But you just can't start him every game and play him for 90 minutes in every game in this system. It just doesn't work. You can just take a look at 3 or 4 games of Amarim at Sporting Lisbon. The midfielders he uses in that deep lying role, they just aren't Bruno Fernandes type players. If you were playing a 4-3-3, you might be able to fit him into a deeper lying role there, similar to Modric or whatever, but not in this system.
4-2-3-1, we have the perfect players to play that system.
Yeah.
We literally do have the perfect players because you can even tell the players, the fullbacks, to get forward. But it'll give us 3 10s. We have 3 of the best 10s in the Premier League. And then we got some great backups in Ahmad and Mount. You've got Šeško up front. We've got holding midfielders. You could put Kobe in with Casemiro, or play Casemiro and Ugarte. You can still play Dorgu. You just got to find a decent right back. So at the moment, we can play Dalot there, and we've got great centre backs. It works. And in fact, play Dorgu on the right and put Luke Shaw left back. Great, even better. It's a great system for the players we have, but we still don't have Amorim's players style for this system. Without two solid pivot players, holding midfielders, whatever you want to call them, you need an out-and-out destroyer, left, right, just going up the pitch, sweeping like that, in front of three midfielders, and then you need a box-to-box 8 who wants to play passes. He doesn't want to score goals. He wants to play passes. That's what it comes down to.
Why don't you give me your thoughts on this one, Jonathan? Why is sentimentality and favouritism the ball point at the moment, and why isn't Maino getting time? Is it purely just down to the fact that we haven't got anywhere to fit him in? He wants to play Casemiro. I'm assuming he's having to play Casemiro because he's on so much money a week, in maybe the hope to get a bid for him before the summer ends. It looks like he's not going anywhere. There's not been any talk about that. Maino clearly would be the ideal person to go in alongside Casemiro if Casemiro isn't going anywhere.
Well, Amorim said it himself after the game. I think he was asked about the Manu situation, and he said it outright. He's competing with Bruno for that position. So it seems like he has that Casemiro and Ugarte for the holding mid role, and then the creative deep line playmaker is Bruno versus Manu. And as we've touched on already, with Bruno lasting 90 minutes in almost every game, that doesn't leave too much minutes for Kobe. So it's concerning. It would be concerning for the player himself with a World Cup on the horizon next summer. But it's very difficult for a young guy to actually impose himself on the team if he's not getting a chance to. There's only so much you can do on the training field when you're playing against your own teammates. You've got to give him a chance, So it's a strange one because it's like he's trying to find a position for Bruno in the team, but he can't find a position for Kobe Manu in the team. So I don't know. I said it to Mark on the preview the other night. I don't see a world long term where Manu is in this starting 11 under Amorim. I think he's a different type of midfielder. Again, he's a 4-3-3 style midfielder, I think. So it's concerning because he is a very, very talented player. I think he'll get a shot midweek against Grimsby, but
he has to start against Grimsby. He has to.
You've got to give him a chance. He's got to make changes.
I was going to say,
if he starts against. Oh, sorry, Nathan, you were going to say, but if he starts against Grimsby, it compounds what we think. So because we expect a second choice team against Grimsby, and you put him in, so that makes him a backup player. But I will keep saying it, and I'll keep singing it. He is the new age Nicky Butt. Please leave the club and go and play football somewhere else for your own benefit. Do not destroy your career by wanting to stay at Man United. That's what I feel. I want him to be at United. I want him to play. Please go and play football because he's too young not to be playing football.
I completely agree with that. If Mainu is being told your second choice, then at the end of the day, from a financial point of view, from Manchester United, if we sold him, got 50, 60 million, it's great from a PSR point of view. If he does leave, it's just going to be another case of, the Scott McTominay situation. He's gone and he's nominated for a Ballon d'Or.
You know what really frustrates me, Nathan?
There's a lot of things apparently, but yeah, go on.
No, really frustrates me, and it's just hit me while listening to you say that and what Jonathan's just said. Amorim goes on about players not being fit, right? Not fit enough to start, not fit enough to this. It's a well-known fact. There's a massive difference about being fit in training and match fit. And if you don't play him in matches, you're never going to be match fit. So all the time we don't rotate these players, the ones coming on are never going to get up to match fitness. And we are just going to screw ourselves over. We haven't got European football, so we need to constantly be changing our team up. Just one player here, one player there, and get 60, 70 minutes in. It's like we're still in pre-season right now. And I'm just going to add, since we dropped Rasmus Højlund, we have been fucking shit from pre-season. Since we went for these Mbermo, Mount and Cunha up front, we have barely scored a goal.
Yeah.
Facts.
On Wednesday, then we play Grimsby away. We must. I mean, I think you said last week he'll go very strong, Jonathan, in this game. But surely, on the comments that he's made about Mainu today, surely that means we are just going to see a full 11 changes. Surely. Or
Yeah.
at least you're going to see. You can still keep Cunha and Imbremo, I would imagine. Ugarte will come in. Sheshko has to start. There's no. I don't think there is a question against that. You can keep the Ahmad at right wing back if that's the position you want Ahmad to play from now on. He needs to play in that game. We're probably going to see Maguire come in. I'll be interested to see what he does about the goalkeeper situation. We'll touch on that before we go as well. But
Well,
yeah,
if we get that one across the line, I think you're right. I think it's probably a 10-man change, 11-man, 9-man change.
yeah. I think the
There's
only
a few
players
I
that
would
stay,
position.
I think Ahmad stays in, and Cunha
Yeah,
and Imbremo come in.
no, I think they get dropped.
I don't think so.
So
I don't
quickly
think he
run
can
through my
afford to.
front. I think Sesko starts. I think Mount moves to the 10 with Ahmad, or he puts Bruno in the 10. I'm just going to actually that makes more sense. Mount gets rested. Bruno moves into the 10 because that way you keep your captain on the pitch. Dallo comes in at right back, Diego Leon at left wing back, centre midfield, Ugarte, Mainu, and then you play the back three out of whoever's fit. Mazraoui might get a bit of a run out if he's coming back from his fitness. Maguire
Yeah,
definitely.
Stephanie
And for
says
me, put fucking Heaton in goal and just tell Onana to fuck off. Yeah, Heaven. Sorry, that's Heaven left centre back instead of Shaw. Yeah, even keep Dorgu. So you could easily change the team up. That's how strong our bench
so.
is
So
turning.
is that saying? So yeah, Stephanie's saying to drop Dallo and Ahmad and put Shaw at left wing back and put Dorgu at right wing back.
Well,
Shaw
no,
won't
you
play
could put
left wing
Ahmad
back.
into the 10. That's what we're saying. We could put Ahmad into the 10 in
He
that
won't. He
respect.
won't play. He won't play short left wing back. He's going to go strong. He has to. You'll
No,
see
Diego
Dorgus.
Leon will play left wing back, and I think he's good enough to play against Grimsby.
I don't think Leon will start. I think it'll be Dorgo at left wing back again. I think you'll see Heaven come in at left centre back,
Yeah.
Maguire central centre back. I think Yoro will start again at right centre back. Mazraoui will probably be on the bench. I think Xerxes has got to get minutes. He's been on the bench 2 weeks in a row now and hasn't seen a single minute. If he's fit enough to make the bench, he should be getting minutes. Otherwise, he shouldn't be in the squad. It's as simple as that.
It should be a Sheshko 60 minutes, then Xerxes on for the
Definitely, yeah.
rest.
100%.
Sheshko has to start. I think Embuemo has to start. He's looking like he's carrying a bit of weight. I think he needs to slim down. He hasn't had a proper full preseason, so he's still finding his feet. I
Can we
think
just touch on Sesko's pre-season? He had a better pre-season than Gyökeres. He actually did his pre-season with his club, and we bought him. He still played his games, and he was still training. He didn't get put out through all of those talks before we went in. He was still training. He does not need as much of a pre-season as people are saying. He's either coming with a knock, or there's something else where he's not, clicking to what he's being asked to do, or he's got to gel with those two. But he had a pre-season.
Yeah, it's
You know,
it's. I think we're all in agreement. I know there's a lot of talk on Twitter right now, and there's a few in the chat now about Ruben out. I think we're all in agreement in
no,
here that we're not Ruben out.
I can't.
no way.
I can't. We can't afford it for a start. They're after paying 18 million quid to sack Ten Hag and to get Amorim in. They can't afford to sack him in
No.
less than a year
What I
later.
will say is I understand where this is coming from because Thomas Frank has gone to Tottenham and in 2 games, in a shorter period, has turned them round and they go and beat City. Well, the history says Tottenham beat City over the last few years and Thomas Frank beat City over the last few years. So it wasn't that big a surprise to me. I actually took my Man City defenders out of my FPL. So I was expecting that.
Yeah,
But there are changes and people are getting wins with this system, but Man United aren't. Palace play it, Brentford were playing it, Tottenham look like they're moving towards it, and someone else plays it, and I can't remember who, or has it as a backup system. I am not hammering out and I will not be hammering it out because I think he needs for 3, 4, 5 years under this system because
Out,
I understand how hard it is.
out of curiosity, Mark, when Ollie was in charge, was you Ollie out near the end, or was you still?
Ollie had to go because I could see the players stopped, but Ollie played the kind of football I grew up on,
Mm,
where we would score one more goal than you to win the game, and we were doing that, and it was very attackive. But we also had, when you have fast players, you need 4 or 5 fast players. You can't just have one up front because they sit back and defend it. So we were counter attacking. I feel we're very unbalanced at the moment, and that's going to happen because we know we needed a strong transfer window, 5 players minimum,
mm,
and we only got 3 in, and they all were up the top end of the pitch. That's why I said to you, we've got 2 10s in. If we can't get our number one striker, go for a different position to make it solid because we know our defenders, our centre backs are fine. Right wing back, goalkeeper, you make it solid, make that spine of the team solid. And we've missed the gaping hole again. If I was to do us a lineup, I'd literally put a black hole in the centre of midfield.
yeah,
This has been a problem though at Man United for years. Is the midfield? We seem to be allergic to signing long-term midfielders and proper midfielders. Even if you look at our youth team signings, we've been doing really good work at academy level signing young players. But if you look at them all, they're all defenders and they're all forwards. We don't sign consistently proper midfielders at youth level, and we don't sign like realistically a top team should be looking to sign a midfielder every summer, whether they're young or experienced, because there's such a turnover, there's such a high amount of energy required, there's a lot of rotation needed, different formations you can play. It's called the engine room for a reason. And we're sitting here with our first choice midfield partnership is Bruno Fernandes, who is a converted 10, Casemiro, who's 33 years of age and his best years are behind him, and we've got Ugarte, who there's still massive question marks over, and you've got Kobe
Failed
Mainoo.
in this
We would
format,
argue that his best position is the number 10. So that's our midfield at the moment. So
yeah.
like people bemoan this selling of Scott McTominay, but Scott McTominay wasn't a centre midfielder either. He was a box crasher, and he was a really
He's a
good number 10
believer.
under Ten Hag at the end. So like our midfield has just been diabolical for years. This is going back to Sir Alex Ferguson's time at the club. We brought Paul Scholes out of retirement for fuck's sake. Like, I mean, that's how bad our midfield was. We had to bring a 36-year-old out of retirement to help us try and challenge for a Premier League title. Now,
Well,
ultimately, we
Michael
won.
Carrick was the last holding midfielder, wasn't he? And
Yeah,
if you go from
we
Michael
never
Carrick,
replaced him.
I say Matic. We had Matic, but we didn't have his best years, and
No,
we had Andrew Herrera. But if you went even with them, if I add them in, you go back from those guys. We always had a controlling central midfielder. Going back to before I was born, like the last one that was there, which I didn't see much of, was Brian Robson. But you go Robson, Keane, Carrick. They flow through nicely, and then they disappear. They
yeah,
disappear because apparently football changed.
yeah,
Well, the closest thing to a Roy Keane in the Premier League is a Rodri. People might laugh, but I think they forget how good a ball player Roy Keane was. He barely ever gave the ball away, nor
yeah.
did Michael Carrick. But why would we stop looking at that profile of player? I believe a lot of it came down to social media because if you look today, everything's always focused around a skill or a goal, isn't it? It's never no one really talks about a player just popping a pass off because it's sort of just a given now because everyone plays tiki-taka football.
Mm.
United fans were going mental over JJ in the youth team. Well, if you watch the youth team match, he scored 2 tap. One was a good goal, one was a tap in, and Rooney's was that they went on about scored a deflected thing. But all the social media was 2 for the future because of their age. It's quite common for 14, 15-year-olds play up. Under 16s tend to play in under 18s football. Under 18s playing the under 23s. It's normal, but social media pushes. We've got to be positive, positive, positive. But so we're not talking about any of these midfielders from our youth team. The Fletchers, Ibarov, people like that. Kone, obviously, I know he's had a horrendous injury and he's got to come back from that. But at the end of last season, I'm saying he should be on pre-season coming in. You know, and he got 0 minutes. We're not producing midfielders because everyone is either a holding midfielder or a 10. There are no box to box, so we've got to go to other teams and buy them.
Yeah,
and they 100 million.
yeah. It looks like it's struggling to see where we're going to get some momentum in the next few games. You know, niche fans already said, you know, we've got Burnley next Saturday. You know, on the back of the Arsenal game, you would imagine that would be a stalwart, you know, 4-5-0. It looks like now it's going to be another difficult situation at Old Trafford next Saturday. Obviously, we've got Grimsby, and then after that, we've got the likes of Chelsea and City. And City aren't at their best at the moment. You know, they played really well in their first game, struggled really badly against City. So yeah, we'll just have to see how Wednesday goes. I imagine we'll get through, but I'm more interested to see the team that plays on Wednesday. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, me and Jonathan spoke Friday night about potentially just doing a quick sort of half-hour review show on the Grimsby game, like preview, because I was honest, I don't know that much about Grimsby, but you know,
No.
we can talk about what's expected before the game kicks off, and if we jump on once the team news is out, we can talk about that. That gives us an hour before kickoff if people are available. But in general, yeah, Amarin. Even if Amarin wins that, everyone's just going to go, it's Grimsby. So we need to score 5-6 goals if we went strong. Do you know what I mean? If we went with the starting 11 from today, we'd have to score this many goals for people to say, oh, maybe they just needed to get the ball in the back of the net and it will click. But if we change the team up and we win 1-2-0, nothing changes for the starting 11 in the following week. That's football. You know?
So just to give you a bit of background on Grimsby at the moment, in the league, they're in the top four. Their last 5 games, 2 draws, 3 wins. And they're currently, fourth on goal difference.
Yeah.
So we shall see how that goes. Yeah, we might be able to squeeze in a little preview before, once the team news comes out on Wednesday. We will bring that to you, hopefully. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Poor game today. Played really well for the first sort of 15 minutes. Yeah, we'll just have to see how we go from here. Thank you for everyone in the comments. Really appreciate your feedback and getting involved. If you don't already, please like and subscribe and check out our socials. You can follow us at BallsOut_pod on Twitter and TikTok. I'll be uploading some more TikTok videos, that is for sure. And yeah, check out our Balls Out prediction show. I uploaded that last night. That's currently up now. See how we all
Doing
predict.
well with West Ham and Leeds.
Yeah, West Ham and Leeds. And as we sit now, chaps, I've just had it here. Where'd it go?
Are we in there now?
The
Where are we?
16th.
Yeah, 16th.
Boy.
The good news is if we've got a point on the board.
Well,
2
yeah, one
games.
more than last week.
So, yeah, we shall see. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jonathan. And we will see you all again soon.
Take care.